Hey everybody, I'm Jack Reeder with Future Pastimes, and I'm a designer on expansions for Cosmic Encounter. And in this video, I wanted to cover 5 things that you might miss in the rules for Cosmic Encounter. Some of them don't come up very often, and that's why you might not know them off the top of your head. But they are rules and things that you might need to know. So let's dive right in. The first one is the Destiny deck. So you have a deck of cards, and those are your Destiny cards. It tells you who you're going to attack on your turn. But when you go to draw from the Destiny deck, if there's only one card left, you do not draw that card. You actually shuffle that into the discard pile to form a new deck, and then you draw. So if you happen to be green and your color has come up twice, and it didn't come up and didn't come up and didn't come up, and there's one card left, it's not going to be drawn. But you're going to reshuffle the deck, so eventually you will draw green again. But an important rule, you're not going to go through the whole deck. Almost, but not quite. The second thing is about drawing new hands. When you draw new hands, it's not the same for the offense as it is for the defense. And the easiest way to remember is knowing when it is you need to have an encounter card in your hand. And that is when you're going to draw that new hand as a main player. Now for the offense, you need to have an encounter card in your hand at the start of your turn. That is not necessarily the regroup, it's the start of turn. You check to see if you have any encounter cards as the offense, and if you do not, you draw a new hand until you do have at least one encounter card. For the defense, they're not going to need their encounter card until you get to the planning phase, and that is when the defense draws a new hand. And sort of important to know here is that if you are the offense and you have an encounter card at the start of your turn, but you somehow get to the planning phase and you do not have an encounter card, your turn is over. Kaput. Similarly, if you get to a regroup on your second encounter and you don't have an encounter card, you don't get to have a second encounter. So if you only had the one encounter card at the start of your turn and you used it, your turn is over then as well. So you draw a new hand, start of turn for the offense, and the planning phase is for the defense. Let's go to when happens when you draw your own color. If you've drawn your own color in Destiny and you have a planet in your system with no ships on it, you can reestablish a colony on that planet. And all you really need to do is you point the hyperspace gate there, you do the launch phase, and then you go straight to resolution. You're not going to play an encounter card. You don't do any of the other effects. There's no alliance, anything. It's just automatic. You say, yes, I'm going to establish a colony on this empty planet, and then that encounter is over. That's a successful encounter. The other thing about that, sort of in the same area with Destiny, is when you draw a wild, you can encounter any player, but it has to be in their system. So if everyone has colonies in your system and you've drawn wild, you can't encounter them in your system. You can only encounter them in your system when you have drawn your own color. But remember, getting rid of somebody else's colony is all well and good, but you are giving up your ability to advance your score. So just to be mindful of that. It's almost always better to just flip again. You've drawn your own color. You don't have to have an encounter in your system. No matter how many players are there, you can always draw again. And then you can say, yeah, I'm going to attack you in your home system. And then the last thing I want to cover, again, it's in this similar vein of things. It is when somebody draws your color in Destiny and they're going to have an encounter, that color is going to be the defense. They are going to be the defensive main player, no matter which planet in their system is targeted and whether they have ships on that planet or not. So there's sometimes you'll have a situation where there are no ships on the planet. The system determined by Destiny is still the defense. They're defending that planet with 0 ships. And if let's say that you're green and your colors come up in Destiny and you've got a planet with no ships on it, you defend that planet. There's a planet and the only ships on it belong to Orange. You are still the defensive main player. Orange's ships are not involved, and Orange is not involved unless they have been invited as an ally. And even in that case, the ships on the planet are not necessarily, they're not involved at all, even as a defensive ally. They would have to take the ships off of that planet and either put them on the hyperspace gate as an offensive ally or in between the gate and the planet as a defensive ally. And if they lose, only their ships involved in the encounter go to the warp. Their ships on the planet are still bystanders. So that's basically 5. It's a little more than 5, but those are some things. There's a little bit of nuance in the game. So just be aware of those things when they happen. Those are the rules. And I hope you learned something. Actually, I hope that you already knew that. But if you're watching this, maybe you didn't know any of that. That's it for this video. If there's other things that you think players commonly miss, go ahead and throw those in the comments. And I'll definitely do another video at some point of other stuff, especially taking into account different variants from expansions that players sometimes miss in rules for those things. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.